Christy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks a lot for coming on. It's my pleasure and honor to have you on the soon-to-be famous Tasty Brains podcast.
Love it.
Before I keep going, because every single show I tell people that I just start talking and rambling on and don't tell anybody who I'm talking to for the millions and millions of listeners. Just a quick little bio of who the famous Christy is.
Sure. Christy Gomez here. I am honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I am a Floridian, not native, but I've been here since 2008. So I feel like that kind of counts now. I'm past the 7 years of being a Floridian. So it's official.
For sure.
Yeah. I had a short stint in Chicago. It's where my husband's from, the Midwest. So I had about 4 years in Chicago, which I actually loved, but it is cold there. And I am a warm weather gal. Yeah, so I'm back. I'm in Florida since 2019. I have a son. He's 5 years old. I have a cat. And that's me in a nutshell. Simple.
Wow, it's so wild that I didn't know that you had been in Chicago before, and now you're in Florida. I'm born and raised in Chicago, and I lived in Florida for I don't even know. I mean, I born and raised in Chicago, lived there for a very long time till I was like 10. Then I moved to Florida with my family, lived there till I was probably 20-something, moved back to Chicago, moved to Florida, moved back to Chicago, and then have lived all over the place. Now I'm in Texas.
No kidding. Yeah, I would move to Chicago again, like snowbird style. When I get older, I would love a house there, but I'd be a snowbird. Just summertime, because summertime in Chicago,
unbeatable.
Unbeatable. I would agree.
It's because every other place on the planet Earth, so California, I lived in San Diego for a while too, and there it's just always perfect, right? So you take weather, beach, mountains, you take it for granted. I'm not going to say you don't. I mean, everybody does, because you're like, oh, it's 75 again today, and you're like, oh yeah, sweet, it's sunny, it's not that hot. What do you want to do? We can do anything because it's never bad here. But Chicago, as you know, it really sucks for 7 months when it's gray. It's just gray.
The wind. Oh.
The wind, everything. I mean, it's really nice when the snow first falls, and then it turns black, on the street, and you're like, man, this is gross. But I was telling some of my neighbors at the bus stop the other day when I was picking up my daughter, who's also 5, also a weird thing. You have a cat, I have a dog. They're saying it's starting to get really hot here in Houston. It's 85, hyper humid, just gross. And I'm telling them, like, no, Chicago in the summertime the spring summer is unbeatable. Like, because as soon as it gets like 65, everyone just is like, I'm not working anymore. I got to go outside. It's sunny. Sorry, boss, I'm out. And the bosses are already gone. Like they're not even talking to anybody, because the boss is like, I've been gone for like 3 hours.
They're on a boat. They're on the lake somewhere. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. So I guess that kind of segues into happiness, which I know is a big thing for you, and it's a wild time it's a poignant time to be talking about happiness, I think, especially over the past couple years. What's funny is obviously you know who Chris Rock is. Have you seen his latest special on Netflix?
We just watched it recently, yes.
So Selective Outrage. And I know you're probably in your head, you're going, what does that have to do with happiness, sir? But people, I think there's 2 sides to the coin, or maybe there's 3 sides to this coin, but there's a lot of people that are just mad about everything. Like the tiniest things they're getting mad about. My Wi-Fi is not working. I had to go drive to get gas a little farther. I'm in traffic. My phone signal sucks. So they're like mad about all these things. And then on top of it, if you layer that with whatever your religious and political beliefs and all that nonsense, it's really hyping it up, right? Mm-hmm. But then you have the other side where there's people that nothing is going wrong. I would call it not fake happiness, but just a false sense of positivity, where there's plenty of things that are wrong. So the people that are complaining all the time, they're wrong. And I think I want people to be happy all the time, but I like people like you that they keep it real. So, you can be happy, but hey, there is these other things, and finding that happiness and making sure you're not just burning energy on the complaining. And at the same time, you could burn energy on trying to force yourself to, like, this is making me, like, let's say I hated this coffee and I'm just drinking it because I need the caffeine, which I do plenty of times. But but when I get a really good one, I'm actually pleased with what's happening.
For sure.
Or a conversation I have with somebody that hasn't sucked the complete energy out of me. Yeah. You made a post about, you were like, I'm on my third cup of coffee today, so things are going great. And you were talking about how, different conversations, experiences, you're not just getting the energy just sucked out of you or losing out on that happiness. So how did you fall into, there is a question here, how did you fall into this whole realm of happiness? And I know there's some happiness and financial, and then we'll get into your fitness stuff later. Yeah. But that's the big thing I think people need to know about, and you do a great job at messaging it. So how did you kind of, want to talk more about happiness? Are you just normally a happy person?
I would say probably at my core, I desire to be a happy person, but it's just like what you said, where it's not always it's not the most popular thing to do unless you are the person who's like head in the sand. Yeah, I'm happy. Everything's great. But the problem with that is eventually it catches up. So you can only be fake happy for so long before those emotions they're going to rise to the surface no matter how much you say that they're not there. But I grew up in kind of a weird situation where I grew up very religious. And so it was kind of placed upon me. I had a mentally ill mother. So between the two, it was like my dad was like, focus on the religion and act this way and be this way.
Wow.
And that's your expectations. And just control what you can control with your mom. We're not going to address those emotions and issues. It just is what it is. And so it was kind of like I lived this pretend world for the first like 20 years of my life,
Man.
Yeah.
What kind of religion, if you don't mind me asking? Christian, Catholic?
Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah. I have a whole podcast episode about it. It's like one of those things people know them from knocking on doors, but there's actually a lot more that goes into that religion. I would call it cult-like. That would be what I would say.
Cult adjacent.
Yeah, cult adjacent. Perfect. It's interesting. It was quite the way to grow up. And it brought a lot of good things out. There is a lot of positivity that comes with that religion because they do a unhealthy job of making sure you don't address the things you need to address. Everything's how you look and how the world sees you, and you have to dress this way, and everything's buttoned up, and you lose yourself in that, I think, when you're not allowed to grow into the person that you're meant to be. You're becoming a clone of somebody that somebody else wants you to be. So I say that because as I left the religion, I opted out. I got kicked out, actually, so I don't talk to
Get out of here.
I don't. Yeah, I left when I was 19. I told them I was seeing a guy that was not a Jehovah's Witness, which is strictly against the rules. I have three older brothers, a sister, and my dad was a devout. He was, what you consider a priest. And so because of that, I was disfellowshipped, as they call it. So I was kicked out, and your family doesn't talk to you anymore. Nobody in the religion talks to you. So you go through your life 20 years in. I know this is not where you expected this to go.
This is like some Scientology stuff. I didn't even know it was that hardcore.
It is legit. Yeah, it is. And there's no gray area. You see somebody at the supermarket, they know, because you're raised that way. So you're told, this is what happens if you don't follow the rules. You lose everybody and everything. Wow. And so
that's a ton of pressure to put on somebody, especially a young mind. I could only imagine that would drive me nuts. I mean, it wouldn't drive me nuts when you're a kid, but as soon as you start becoming self-aware and thinking, I couldn't even imagine how they control it with social media now. It's got to be near impossible.
That age. I can't even. I don't even. I know they have their own website and their own things but yeah, that must be impossible. But
Jehovahgram.
Yeah, it was. I don't know, something like that. But I'm grateful that I went through it. But what it taught me, because that's how I got to be the person I am. The strength, the resiliency. When everybody leaves you when you're 19 years old, there definitely were some low points in life, but it let me rebuild myself into who I wanted to be. And I think that's so valuable. And so because of that, I was able to decide, how do I actually feel about this? When I stop and think about this, not through somebody else's lens, how does Christy feel? What actually makes me happy? And again, there was a lot of rocky points and points in my life where I was really unhappy and really pissed, just mad that that stuff happened to me. But as I worked through that and I started to figure out what I enjoyed and went where I wanted to go and had my own vacations and conversations and relationships and found people who loved me for me, not just because I'm a Jehovah's Witness, it changed the actual fabric of who I am. And I felt like there's so many people, even if it's not religious, even if it's just could be because you were raised in another way or because of what was impressed upon you in school or the situational, you grew up in an area that wasn't affluent, or it could be anything. When those things are impressed upon you and you're told to believe things in a certain light, and this is how we do it, it's how it's always been done, I feel like the positivity aspect really helps when you can say, you know what, I am choosing to be a better person than that. I don't want to feel negatively about that. I don't want to believe in that political affiliation or that religion anymore. What's important to me? And once you do that and you open that up, I feel like the positivity becomes easier. But it's been a long road.
Oh, I bet. And I mean, you kind of gain you didn't have an identity when you were doing that, and then you gained one, and all those things that the hard times, the good times, I think are all necessary for everybody. I've had extremely dire low points in my life. I've struggled at times with mental health, a whole bunch of things, but it's taken a long time, and I still fall victim to trying to identify myself with something,
Sure.
and it's so easy to latch yourself to an idea and think that I have to be on this side, or I have to be, I got to do this or be into this to be happy. And then I kind of said before we started the podcast, I was talking about, adding, I add work, like I do sports cards, which makes me happy. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to start the podcast. And, but it does truly, those things make me happy. I love to work out like a crazy person. Makes me happy. Like legitimately happy, not like, as you drink a couple glasses of wine and you're like, man, I really love wine. It's like, well, yeah, do you love wine? Is it making you happy? It's probably taking the edge off and chilling you out. Yeah. But that's not giving you overall happiness,
It's temporary.
Yeah, it is temporary. I do enjoy the wine and beer,
Same.
and coffee. Do you find it hard to tell people? Are you a straight up in your face kind of person when it comes to telling people like it is? Because trying to find that happiness within yourself, I sometimes think it might be difficult because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Sometimes it's so hard to be, hey, you're I swear a lot, but you're fucking up. Sorry, I gotta tell you. And it's funny because some people in my life, the way they are, my wife is in your face, and she'll tell me when it's messed up, and she'll tell anybody when it's wrong. But where you stand, instead of like somebody that's like, yeah, it's pretty good, you're doing a good job, when you're really like, you really suck, And I'd rather have someone go, dude, next time you need to put the microphone down and stare into the camera, or do this, and you know what I mean. Take those things. So does happiness ever get in the way of that, of confrontations and whatnot?
That's a great question. I would say no, but what I've had to learn, I grew up, so after I left that world, I was in Best Buy for 18 years. So I kind of grew up within Best Buy. I started right out of high school, went to college briefly online. It never stuck for me. I didn't like it, honestly. But I had 2 years towards a bachelor's in nutrition and nothing to show for it. But
damn, so close.
So close. They taught me so much of how to lead and how to have crucial conversations, which I think is such a valuable skill that I'm grateful that I was able to have. And I spent so much time there learning that with customers and having conversations. But I say that because when I'm asked for feedback, I have no problem giving feedback. Where I've had to kind of rein it in, especially as I've been on this journey of it's not a popular opinion, but I'll say, I don't believe in religion and organized religion. I feel like it takes away from our abilities to make decisions on our own for what our true beliefs are and what makes us happy. I
Mm-hmm.
think you should do your research. I think you should learn more. I consider myself spiritual. So it's not that, I wouldn't consider myself an atheist. I'm sliding the pendulum. But I do think that when you are able to make decisions for yourself, you can decide what happiness looks like. And so if people come to me and they say, hey, Christy, I'm really struggling with my weight. What would you suggest? I'll give it to them. If they're eating
Right.
cookies and having wine, we're going to have a conversation about it. But if they don't, some people just don't want to hear it. They think they want to hear it, but they don't. I can't use my energy to drag people along like I've tried to do in the past. So if it's the right situation, I feel like we're all going to mutually benefit from it. Yes. If not, and you want to live your life and you want to do these crazy things or make yourself unhappy on purpose or be negative all the time, that's on you. What I've done myself is I've learned to create boundaries so that I'm not going to be a part of those conversations. If you want to live that way, cool, but it's just not how I choose to live. Energy is so precious. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And I don't have it for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially when you have a 5-year-old.
Especially. Oh, like that's enough. And that's like a whole job in itself. So
Not hating on anyone that doesn't have kids, but when you have one in the 0 to 18 range, it's not easy. And then I'm sure it's just even more difficult as they get older and develop their own problems that they call you about. I can only imagine. And shout out to all the parents out there,
yeah, shout out.
moms and dads, crushing it. Unless you suck at being a parent, and then you're not crushing it. And,
Boo.
yeah, is it hard? Do you find a lot of do you find happiness traps at all, where you find yourself getting that false sense of happiness? Because with social media today, it's like I said, there's everyone's happy on social media most of the time, and there's also the extreme car accidents and stuff like that. I suck myself into watching for some reason.
Yeah. It's kind of like what you said earlier. I feel like it depends on how much you want to dig your head in the sand, but conversely, it's really easy to feel like your worth comes from your perception or other people's perception of you on social media.
Crazy.
And I've 100% been sucked into that before, where I won't say something or I won't show something, or I overthink who I am and who I'm showing up as. And I would say out of all of the things that's been the hardest to let go of, because I grew up the way I did, I think especially is like I'm always conscious of what people think of me. It doesn't stop me from being what I would consider a rebel, but I've had to work against the desire to show up as this curated version of myself. Social media makes it really difficult to do that. I was thinking about
Crazy.
it this morning. I have brown countertops, okay? I don't have white countertops. If you know anything about Instagram, it's like you only show your kitchen if you have white countertops, like these beautiful countertops.
Wow.
I don't know why that just sticks with me, but it was one of those things where I don't show my countertops as much and I just don't really care that much, but there's a part of me that does. And it sounds so stupid, but it's like those little moments, the more I catch myself in those and I can talk to the rational part of Christy and I'm like, what are you doing? Like you're taking away from an opportunity to say something or do something beneficial by worrying about countertops. But countertops is just, it's just I
It's
can't
just
think
a
of the word I
thing.
want to use. It's just a thing. It's not, and it's everywhere. There's always those things we can put as roadblocks in our own way. So yeah, I mean, I think we're human. I think everybody has those little triggers where you're like, ugh. I
What
don't want people to know that about me.
what's
Not the
the
countertops, but
yeah, now the whole world knows not to look at your Instagram because you have brown countertops. For Christ's
saying,
sakes,
you're ready
for
for it.
Jehovah's sakes. It's funny. Not that I want to harp on Jehovah's Witnesses, but when you were describing that whole system, it sounds identical to Instagram. Just the way you were putting it, this is the way you have to look. This is the way you have to be accepted. And it's kind of like what you just said, brown countertops versus white countertops. What is getting the clicks? If you're not doing these certain things times a day, it's teetering on the levels of religion, even though this religion is widespread and highly diverse. We're talking about all different shapes and sizes and things, and you name it, it can get hot on Instagram. But there is these like cookie cutter things, and it's so funny when you're describing, because all I really knew about Jehovah's Witnesses, knocking on the door, would you like to learn about Christ today, or whatever they say. But then you started describing the other stuff. I'm like, man, that sounds like freaking Instagram, man. Like,
I've never correlated that, but yeah, it's definitely curated for sure. But so much of that's of any perception things in life is curated. If they told you what actually happened and how, if you leave, you lose your whole family and everybody, and you're not going to join, people aren't going to come in. It's like they just feed it to you over time so that you start to become herd mentality and you're
Yep.
like, oh, everybody else is doing it, so am I. So Instagram definitely
And think
is
about it. If you leave Instagram for a lot of people, if people leave Instagram, especially that are just, 6 hours a day, I harp on Instagram because I just recently got it because now I'm doing the podcast thing. And that's a whole full-time job, social media itself.
yeah.
But it sucks you in. And I could totally see, especially younger people, that mindset like, oh, if you leave, you're not gonna you're gonna lose your 1,000 followers or your 10,000, or for God's sake, some of these people got 13 million followers.
Yeah.
Those people usually don't care because they're rich and famous, or maybe they do. But it's kind of the same thing. If you leave, who are you going to be? You're probably not going to be happy anymore. Don't leave. You better keep posting the thirst trap pic or the workout crazy pic or the eating the this the that.
But you curated this fake person, and that's who you. I mean, and not everybody, but many people have curated this version of you that you want people to see. Do you follow Elise Myers? Do you know Elise Myers? Has
No.
that come up for you? She has now maybe 3 or 4 million followers, but she is an average human. She's a great follow. She had one story about tacos that kind of blew up into all these other stories. She's very relatable, talks about her anxiety. She is probably what I would consider to be like the vision of what social media could be if things went
The right
well,
way.
the right way. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we're just humans and we did human things. And I'm hoping that I'm optimistic, but with the way, and I don't want to this is like a whole other topic for another day, but with the
I
way
don't care.
TikTok going away and that creating a monopoly for Meta, like that worries me. I try to
Yeah.
spend my energy on things that haven't happened yet, but that does concern me because that also now is giving us less options for how we can express ourselves. And so that's something where it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's so this whole space that I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I talk about it with my neighbors all the time. It's I know our parents were scared for what the future was going to hold, but I don't think they ever saw an iPhone in that realm, right? And then the iPhone came, and then it was like, without the iPhone, none of this takes off the same way as it does, right? And no one, I think, could have seen this social media thing like, bam. Because, man, I want to say in the 80s and 90s, people showed off. You still show everyone you had your things you wanted to show off. Whether it was your new shoes, and then it became, as you leveled up, it was a car. The car had rims, the speakers, how many friends you had in real life, people that you actually knew.
Go figure.
And then it was like somebody figured out, oh, well, we can just, it's funny you said Meta, but, Mark Zuckerberg, which to me, MySpace was, all right. But I think he kind of found this thing, the atom bomb, and just was like, oh, we'll just do this. And then someone in Instagram, the creators of Instagram, who the hell those people are, they're like, oh, well, let's make it a little dumber and, just pictures, more pictures than anything, and then I was always in Twitter. And that's where I do all my sports cards at. But, it is so crazy, the TikTok thing. I've never been on TikTok. I know it's the biggest app in the world, and I know all about the crazy Chinese stuff. Don't turn my video off, YouTube. I swear I'm not talking bad about China, for Christ's sakes. It is crazy. If they eventually ban it, who knows? What's behind the curtain? What are all the real reasons?
I'm not on TikTok either, but it's more just having the platforms and the accessibility.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it becomes a snowball of it's one thing and then what's the next thing. And I don't like to spend my energy that way, but it's when you're a content creator and you eliminate a platform of people, and not that it's happened yet, that it's
coming.
It makes you take a step back and kind of think through where you want to be or where you want to be in 5 years and how it's going to look for you. And it's challenging, but we'll kind of take it as it comes.
Isn't it funny that we have thousands of amazing app creators, and they can't just create a talk tick here in the U.S.? Like, why? What is stopping someone to just be like, yeah, okay, ban it. We'll just make one. We'll make a U.S. version.
I think
Like
we'll see more of that pop up. I think so, but
Jesus.
I think there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff and maybe
Yes,
some politics happening with that. Literally,
some
I think there's
tinfoil
definitely
hats are being put
there's stuff
on.
happening. Yeah, yeah. It'll be cool to see. I mean, growth is always good, but it's just change can be tough for some people. So we'll see how that goes.
And isn't it funny though that a lot of those people, back to happiness, they're legitimately happy about what they're doing on there. So
Hmm.
and on Instagram, some people are they are actually enjoying what they're doing. They're enjoying putting out whatever content they're putting out, and
Yeah,
it's a crazy space to grow in and be in. Is it hard for you because you put out content every day, right?
for the most part, yeah.
And I'm guessing not every day you're having like today's the smiley face day every day.
Correct.
And I haven't completely, scrolled through every single one of your, reels or stories and whatnot. But do you find it difficult some days to get on and be like, all right, got to do this. This is a part of the deal
Yes.
here.
Yeah. You know what? I've decided, and this has been a recent decision. This hasn't been that long. I decided that I am not going to show up so I can check a box and say I showed up on social media today because I do feel like if I posted every 3 days, let's say, and on that third day, I felt so good and I was having the best day, and I come on and you get the full Christy, the energy, the excitement, and you can buy it from me. I could turn it on for you right now and you'd be like, yeah, let's do it, whatever it is. You receive my message so much better than me
Exactly.
showing up and posting some like couple words and womp womp womp. I'm not saying I haven't done that, but that's just a decision that I've made because so much of your worth as a creator can come from if you listen to the advice of others and the content creator gurus and whatever. It's post consistently, post every day, and all these things. But I'm preaching energy, and I can't preach energy and show up half-assed. It just doesn't correlate, and people aren't going to be. It's like a waste of everybody's time.
100%. Yeah. Quality over quantity, except, the internet, Instagram kind of fucks you on the whole quality thing.
Yeah.
Um, where are you finding happiness now?
In general.
Yeah, what's your big, obviously I'm guessing your son is one of them, even though he probably drives you crazy, not to speak for your own thing, but I know my daughter does, even though I love her with all my heart.
Yeah.
She provides 100,000% happiness, even though at times I'm like, honey,
Yeah.
give me a break here. I need 5 minutes.
Your daughter's so smart, though. She's like, I love seeing her on the internet and her little smile. She's huge like you too. I love it. The
She's
tall girls unite. It's like my favorite.
she's
So
and
good.
it's crazy. She's going through a growth spurt right now,
Oh my
and
gosh.
it's insane. We have like a little tick mark thing on one. We have like this annoying post in the middle of our living room, not in the middle, but it's in a spot that's kind of moronically put.
Okay.
But it's perfect because that's where we started kind of tick marking her. And my wife measured her like a week ago, and she was here. And then no one could see me right now that's listening, but it was at a low point, and then it was like up there like a week and a half later, and we're like,
Holy
what
moly.
the hell is
Does she
going
feel
on?
okay? Does she have any pains or anything?
Well, she's like, my feet and my hands hurt, and I'm like, why do your feet and hands hurt? And then she's like, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm hungry. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, you just ate 7 pancakes. What is happening? And so yeah, she's going through it, and I keep telling her, I'm like, well, we're gonna play basketball. You got to start playing basketball. And she's like, I don't want to play basketball, Poppy. I'm like, all right, well, I guess.
I was terrible at basketball. I loved volleyball though, so you got to just kind of try out the sports. I tried hurdles for a little while. I was the
Oh,
tallest
damn.
in my sixth grade class. So besides me and one of the girls who literally moved from Africa, we were the two tallest girls like by far. And volleyball could be another option. So
Yeah, my 2 cousins are super tall. Like when I say super, how tall are you?
5'11".
That's how tall they are. So that's
Yeah.
tall for a girl.
Yeah.
That's
Sure is.
damn tall. And I think my daughter is going to be bigger than that, which will be insane.
That's cool.
So yeah, what are the things that are kind of making you happy right now?
It's really sad that you asked me that question. I genuinely had to like think about that.
Thought I was going to let you off the hook, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. I I think when I'm at my happiest, I feel like what I'm here to do is to master my own life and learn more about myself in a very in not the way that I was raised, which is like what other people think of me, but genuinely get to know myself really well as a person and share how I've done that with others. And I think the things that come from that are the conversations around money, where it's a taboo topic for so many people. But I have figured out going from, and I didn't grow up with money either, because, you know, when you're religious, it's like poverty, like it's okay to just have enough, like just to get by,
The
you know?
Lord will provide.
Exactly. It's exactly it. It's true because they believe that the world's going to be destroyed and you're going to live in this paradise. And so you're better off learning how to be a carpenter than you are a doctor. You know, like, you know, that was a bad example, but you know, it's like we don't need to make money. It's fine. And I disagree. I love having the freedom that money provides. It's not just about being this rich person sitting in a tower, but think
Sure.
about if we all had enough money to do things that we love to do in a sense of being able to benefit those around us and be the best versions of ourselves. And it sounds so far off when people think about that. It can come across as uncomfortable because we're really kind of raised not to speak about money.
Right.
And I feel like if you have somebody that's going to talk about those things, those moments where somebody's like, okay, I'm open to the conversation and I wasn't before, and I could help you create the space where you can bring more money into your life. Again, just for instance, what I'm focused on right now, that those moments make me super happy. But I'm the happiest when I'm like by myself in quiet, reading a book in the sunshine. Like I'm a very simple person when it comes to just relaxing with my coffee, windows down, music on. Like those small moments, I feel like are what I try to focus on the most because you're not going to go on vacation every day, but you get small moments every day.
Yeah, that's the quality part.
Yeah.
Back to the quality. And I'm happy you brought up the money because that was where I was going next anyways.
Cool.
And it's right now I think more than ever money is hyper valuable in a sense. It's always been, you know, obviously important. But I think it's the dollar to everyone. I say it to my customers all the time that, you know, someone's like, "Hey man, sorry, I only bought one card that was $3." I go, "Dude, $3? The fact that you're spending $1 on me to buy something from me,
For
to
sure.
me is crazy, and I don't take it for granted." And I think more often than not, people, you know, money doesn't bring happiness, but money brings alleviates all those millions of other pressures that society and life brings upon you so that you can empty that energy bucket and pour it into doing the happiness of things.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know? So, and I don't want people that listen to this, that, you know, I could see where someone would twist that, oh, money makes you happy. Oh, it's just all about the money. And it's like, well, no, it's not all about the money. But I tell you this, the people that are living under a viaduct in Chicago in the wintertime, they're not happy. Okay. They're only happy if they're high. And that's what's getting them by. Okay. So anyone listening to this, no, money doesn't make you happy.
It doesn't.
And you shouldn't, you know, be so financially focused that money and you're cutting, you know, you're just doing ruthless things to get the money. I think all that's fucked up. But you should have goals and achievements that it's okay for them to be financially motivated.
Yeah.
And to have freedom, it's, you know, freedom like Braveheart. You gotta have money.
And you know, people don't want to talk about it. So if you're afraid to talk about it, what I would say for anybody who is listening to this and immediately did decide to go to that end of, I can't believe you talk about money like that. Like it's not about money, blah, blah, blah. But people are like, you know, for those people, what I would say is what goes through your head? What is the emotion you're feeling when you say that? Is it, have you been taught that money's wrong? Have you been around rich people that did mean things to you? You know, what is the root cause of why you feel that way?
Right.
Because whether you like it or not, we all need money. So why are you putting yourself in a situation to be against money when money is a neutral resource? Money isn't the thing. It's what people choose to do with their money is a thing. But if you're going to talk yourself out of putting yourself in situations to welcome more money into your life, like that's just a waste of energy. If you can be in a better mindset to think like, hey, this opportunity can come to me because I'm in a position to be open to what's possible and not be talking shit about money and the people that make it.
Right.
It's like having a friend. If you're going to be mean to them, they're not going to show up. They're not going to come around. Money is the same way. The more you push it away, it's not going to fight you for it. It's just going to stay away.
Yeah, and it turns into a unwant to hustle for that. You're just like, oh, I'm just going to take, and handouts are okay. I got it. That happens in life. I'm like you. I grew up super poor. It's not super poor enough. And my mom busted her ass working like a crazy person and dropping me off at friends' houses to watch me and all this. And but she was hustling. She knew she needed the money to not provide for her or buy a new purse. It was like, how do I make, especially if you have a kid, if you're just some lazy fuck that's just sitting around and you got kids, a kid and a wife or a husband to provide for, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm all right doing this. And you're not happy. Two, you're just, yeah, this is what it is and they'll figure it out and, it's okay. You shouldn't want those other things. You shouldn't, should you be striving for a Bentley or a Lamborghini? Is that what's really going to make you happy? If it is, strive for it. I would love to have a Lamborghini. I'd love to be able to go buy one with cash money. But I'd also love to be able to, instead of do that, I'd love to give all my friends money to open businesses. Yeah. And, everyone does it. If I won the lottery, what would I do with the money?
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, do it, because I promise you those little things that and yes, it's usually a lot of things you want to be able to do, buy, but it's motivational for you to want to pursue those things. And everyone that you're looking at out there, not you, Christy, but anyone listening, a lot of it's, they're trying to monetize something. They're trying to work to get that, make their lives easier. And yes, there's clout chasers out there. There's people that are going to throw it in your face that they have more money than you. Those people can, kick rocks. You don't need to deal with those people.
Yeah.
But the people like you that are like, hey, don't shun the money. Try to do your best are you unhappy at your job? Maybe not quit right away, but look, stop, get off the goddamn Instagram and look. And it's like dieting. It's like, I'm not happy with the way I look. I'm not happy. I can't run a mile or I can't run 30 feet. Okay. So have you done absolutely anything to pursue those dreams and goals? And I mean, you used to be a beach body. That's where you were in that for a hot minute. And
Owen are close in age. So I think I actually met Sandra. I don't know if she was pregnant still, but like we had just had the babies like close to each other. Yeah, that's how we had met.
And my wife did Beachbody for a while. She lost a ton of weight. Not that she was fat by any means, but she was on it, and especially when I was on deployment, she was crushing it.
She killed it.
And she's back to crushing it now. Shout out to the wife when you listen to this. She's gonna be like, you're always talking about me on the goddamn podcast. And I know you're still into fitness, but
very much.
Was there a kind of transitional point where you're like, I'm kind of done with the beach body. It's too much of this.
It wasn't Beachbody specifically, but for me, I just fell out of love with working out at home. I love the atmosphere of being in a gym, being with people. I push harder when somebody next to me is pushing harder. And it was perfect when I had Owen. I was in Chicago by myself. I would never have been able to make it to a gym. My husband traveled for work. And so it just was the perfect situation to be in at that time. And because I love fitness, being a coach for Beachbody was great because I wasn't selling you a bag of goods. I love fitness. this is a great, the platform is amazing. The workouts work. The nutrition part is great. I had no complaints. The actual
Right.
tools I give you are great. It's just, you know, I, I like to change stuff up, and not working out at home anymore and not wanting to made me feel like I almost had to hide the Peloton workouts I did, or hide my F45 workouts, and I just felt my authenticity kind of went out the window, and I really struggle with that. Like, I can't just show up and be like, I did my workout today, but I actually went to
Right.
F45. Like, it's just not fair to others. And I had a lot of coaches underneath me that were trying to build their business, and so I thought it was the right thing to do, to just quit altogether and not just stick around and half-ass things. I just kind of fell out of love with it. But I would say I don't know a lot about MLMs, but I know that for Beachbody specifically, I love that they're addressing things as they come up. They're still small enough where, for instance, they changed the name of Beachbody. It's actually just Body now, like BODI.
Interesting.
And that's a very recent thing. I think it might just be this month or this year, definitely. And they're moving away. They're saying, hey, we heard you. Like, there's no such thing as a beach body. We're working towards being more inclusive and celebrating all bodies. And so, I appreciate when companies do those kind of things and just
Right.
step up and do the right thing. So that's a plus for them too. I've met the trainers, like, everything's really good. I have no complaints. Just for me,
We're not poo-pooing on Beachbody. Relax, Beachbodyers out there.
no, I'm not. I would say, hey, if you're at home and you can't get your workouts in, it's a great support system. People love it. You find the right coach, and you'll be looking great in no time.
Yeah, I got bored and did a few of the workouts. Sometimes, because I work out here. You're looking at it right behind me. And it's funny you bring up that whole going to the gym thing, which that in itself for people, I say if you're not into working out and you're, here's my 2 cents on fitness. If let's say you're just trying to get back into the swing of things, I would not do home workouts unless it's like going out and walking and stuff like that. I like the idea of people spending money at a gym because and driving and creating a ritual about it. To me, there's some things, some habitual rituals that happen by you just going, and even if you're just going for 20 minutes, the drive there. That if you're able to do that, I would do that to start off and try to stick with it and start bleeding a little money out of your pocket and seeing like, oh, I'm spending $65 a month. I gotta go. I should go. And then when it becomes, if you're not going, okay, then maybe restructure that. But that whole other side that you touch on it for 1 second, the energy. I know you're a big energy person.
Yes.
And in a gym, given the right atmosphere, if you're here by myself, I build a lot of energy from music and stuff like that. But when I do go to a gym, I had to for the CrossFit Open, this past Open. I had to actually go to a CrossFit gym, and I don't go to gyms ever. But when I was in the Navy, I was always working out with my friends, and there was a whole testosterone guy energy. And even if you're at a gym, when I was younger, someone told me like you can feel other energy in the room. You may not think you're feeling it, but it's there, and it's providing you like an auxiliary, like amplifier, especially if someone's in the mode, and if it's a group workout, you can feel it, but I'm talking just getting a pump, normal, a little bench press, back workout, whatever you're doing, and someone else is doing legs, but they are fucking getting after it.
Yep.
You're like, all right,
feel it,
I better do something here, Are you, so what kind of gym do you go to now?
F45.
And okay. How do you like it?
I love it. I love it because I was a CrossFitter before this. Before Beachbody, I did CrossFit for a while. And Orange Theory, I was a coach for CrossFit and Orange Theory for a few years back in Chicago.
Okay.
And I love it. I love CrossFit, but my body, F45, I would say, is like a boutique version of CrossFit. So you're still lifting a barbell, you're still lifting weights, you're still doing cardio, but it's organized, structured in 45 minutes, and the workouts are never the same. So I walk in, and Mondays is different than Tuesdays, et cetera, down the week. And so I'm always, my muscles are guessing. I'm not bored. It's different.
Nice.
And it's 45 minutes. So it's like in and out. And
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 they've
I'm
taken a
good.
lot of the technicalities out of there, right? High
Yeah.
level gymnastics,
Yes.
upper tier Olympic lifting. You're not, snatching 225 pounds and
No.
doing all this crazy shit, which
It's
is totally
accessible.
fine. But
Yeah.
yeah, accessible for even the novice
Yes.
workouter, yeah, person.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy the way the fitness space has evolved. And you were saying how body BODI
Mhm.
is becoming more inclusive, and everything is becoming more inclusive, for good and for bad. I love things to be inclusive. I also like people, like we were saying before, about telling people like it is,
Yes.
which is very difficult sometimes. And the side of the world that really gets me fired up, not fired up ish, is because I have a daughter who watches TV sometimes and sees other people and sees all different shapes and forms, which I think all should be accepted. But no one should tell my kid or me or try to preach to me that while someone that's bigger or someone that's definitely obese, while they are probably beautiful, which I think many people of all shapes and sizes are beautiful people. They should be able to say, I am beautiful, but I am trying to work on my health, because I shouldn't be just gluttonously going through this. Now, if it's a health related issue and that's something you can't fight, totally get it. But I think
Mhm.
I wish the messaging was, hey, there's many sides to this coin. You don't need a six pack and have 2% body fat, which is also the wrong side of the spectrum. Like
Yeah.
you were saying, sometimes I was doing Beachbody, but I'd have to, I'd go do a Peloton workout and I'd have to get on and kind of do my thing. That's
Yeah.
the same for somebody that's on a bunch of steroids or whatever, and they're like, "Yeah, I did this with this protein shake and this
Right.
pre-workout and this multivitamin." It's like, "Oh, okay, can you
Yeah.
please
Yeah.
not straight up just lie to my face?"
Right.
But that's the same, for someone that's super huge, my 300, my 800 pound life or something like that. Like that shouldn't be a TV show. That's not.
Yeah.
You're not messaging anything good for anybody other than, yes, we know that that's bad. But
Yeah.
I think it should be like, hey, everyone should. No one needs to be a workout psycho like me, but no one needs to just be sitting on a couch all day. While it might be beautiful, I think you
Yeah.
got to get out.
I think we swung the pendulum too far in the sense of we created this partnership between self-worth and how you look, because we wanted to get so far away from being really skinny and then like that's like the way you should look as like a model, taking
Insane.
it to it's okay to be as big as you want because everybody is beautiful.
Everyone's
Like
beautiful, right?
there has to be a middle ground. And so I think where we got blurred was we decided that looks is going to give you your self-worth and didn't explain to people, women, especially girls my age, because I grew up in the cosmopolitan allure era of everybody's size
Beanpole.
zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was always skinny, but never a zero. Um, and but that's what I grew up with, and that's what you were told, that if you're not like this, then you're not okay. If you're like this, then you're quote unquote fat. And when we kind of met somewhere in the middle, I wish we would have just changed the statements of you want to look in the mirror and love the person you see, regardless of what you're seeing in the mirror.
Right.
Loving yourself is not the same. It doesn't have to be one and the same of how big or how small you are. Now, your health is something completely different. This is just my personal opinion. You want to make sure that you're able to live for a long time. And if you have a body that can't physically carry the weight that you have on it because your joints hurt and your knees hurt and your heart's slowing down, it's not about how you look. It's not the same conversation to me. But yet somehow it met in the middle. And so for me, when I have those conversations with people about body image or thinking on Instagram, I just don't like to have. I don't like to put one in the same. But I think of somebody like Lizzo, who does an amazing job with. She is a bigger woman. She will always
Mm-hmm.
be a bigger woman, no matter what she decides to do, working out or not. It's just the way that she's made. And yet she's realized that she does some workouts, she feels really good, and she loves to eat, and she lives her life as the person that she is, and she's very happy with it. She is glad that she is the way she is, doing the things she's doing. She has the self confidence. To me, that's not that's an inspiration in a sense, but it's not the
Hmm.
person that we need to talk to, because it's if everybody kind of figured it out in that to that extreme or that point, we'd be having a different conversation. But it's the people
Right.
who are using that as almost a way out of saying, I'm good, I love the way I look, but do you feel good? Like, do you wake up and did you sleep good? How do you feel when you're eating those things? If we made it okay to love yourself and to work on your fitness and be two separate things, I think we'd be in a different place. But that's, on Instagram, that's, I think we have a little ways to go to get there.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hyper touchy topic. That's kind of
Yeah,
why I
it really
flowed into it.
is.
It's uncomfortable to even talk about, which sucks. It should just be able to be like, yeah, this is how I feel. And let me be super clear about it. I'm not only hinting on the overweight people, the people that are hyper skinny and starving themselves to be in this thing, and they're getting gallons of plastic surgery to be done to make sure they fit this perfect little thing. They are just as fucked up as the people that are like, it's okay to be 700 pounds. No, it's not. It's not. It's sad for those people. It's also sad that you are finding some sort of false happiness in
Yeah.
this stick world. That now, if you're naturally just skinny, okay, I got it. I'm not talking about you people. I'm talking about the people that are like, I'm eating 200 calories a day, and this is how I need to look, and it's the only way I can look. I'm kind of, it's funny because just like you were saying, back in the day, it was like super skinny, and then it was like, okay, now you can be as big as all hell. I do enjoy that the middle ground has expanded, where
Yes.
people are accepting girls that are thicker. Like, thick is in,
Yes. Yes.
and that's more my realm that I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
And I think more and more people are becoming. It's more accessibility, I guess, is the best way to put it, right? That looks good too. You don't need to be 100 pounds just to be accepted or think that you're pretty.
That's exactly where I was going with that, though, is exactly what you said of I lost the word that you said. I don't know, you said tolerated, but, and I don't mean that, that's not a knock against you, but it's true that that's kind of that's the scale that we use personally. And
Yep.
of course I have, when I had Owen, I had gained, he was an 11-pound baby. I had gained almost 60 pounds with Owen. And it was
Wow.
really hard. Like that weight didn't just fall off like I expected it to. And I put myself in different clothes. I looked different. I felt different.
Yeah.
But when you think about like what's tolerated and what's okay for people to look like, once we've changed that view of what that is, we've allowed ourselves to continue to find self-worth in who we are aside from the weight. I think that was a point I was trying to make before,
Yeah.
is it's not about the weight. It's about when you find self-worth within yourself, you want to feel good. You want to eat good food. You want to make yourself feel the best you can. But when you tie them together, now you've created this kind of mess, like this jumble of where you could be living your best life and how you're kind of holding yourself back for comfort or for whatever reason your reason is. So I do think that we've adjusted as a society, but it's crazy that it's still like we're still working off societal standards versus how we feel about ourselves personally.
Yeah, and it's totally okay to kind of what we were saying before. You went through those hard times, and it kind of made you who you were today, and you found out what makes you happy because you've had bad things and struggles. It's the same way with I think the relationship with food is the same way. If
Yeah.
you eat donuts and cake every single day, I don't care if they're the greatest, and I'm a huge donut guy. I don't care if they are the best donuts in the world. If you're eating them every day, you're never
Delicious.
going to realize that you're actually enjoying it. But when once a month you go, and it's something to kind of like look forward to, is like, yeah, I'm just going to eat this decent diet. I'm still going to have my little gifts in there, for myself, so I don't go completely
Oh, yeah.
insane. Unless it's your job to be, 5% body fat. Total, not talking about you people. More power to you if you can do that.
Right.
But you got to be able to take the. I don't want to say good diets are bad, but yeah, you got to eat the broccoli and the chickens and the fish, so that when you do have the cake or the donut, you're like, damn, that was well
Yeah.
worth it.
Yeah. Alcohol is the same way too, which
Same.
I've realized recently because my body I had kidney stones a couple months back, and that was the most pain I've ever been through my entire life,
Wow.
ever, 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 ever. And so I had to stop drinking for a little bit. And honestly, I've been a moderate drinker. I wouldn't say like, yeah, I like to have a glass of wine at night, and I would do it 2 or 3 times a week and then have a couple on the weekends. And
Yep.
before you know it, I'm drinking 5 days a week. And
Yep.
it's kind of just happens. And
I'm
I've
pointing at
stopped
myself
doing
here
that.
as well.
I stopped doing that. And then I did it for a couple of weeks, no, like totally dry for about 3 weeks. And I remember waking up, it was like week 2, and I'm like, I feel so fucking good right now. Like I don't, this is how you're supposed to feel. Like it was like a moment of like, oh, the angels came down. And I didn't realize, because I had never stopped drinking long enough to know it. And I feel like food's the same thing, because we've created diets. We've created, this is what good looks like. This is a box you fit in. If you don't fit in this, then you aren't doing it right. But yet
Right.
when you find that you can have a donut and still have, still eat healthy, that makes you feel good, not because you're doing it because Susie said to do it or it's Johnny's diet. It's because you're eating because you love yourself, because you're worth it to eat a healthy diet. That's, or, nutrients in your life. That's totally different.
I'm so happy you brought up alcohol. And this will be our last little thing we talk about.
Sure.
Because I love talking about it. He's in his 30s, but he's a struggling alcoholic. And I love beer. I love tequila. I love margaritas. And I really try to, me and my friends usually go through a month where we call it Sober September. It's kind of the same thing that Joe Rogan does, Sober October. And I'm sure everybody else on the planet mostly does kind of a sober fast
Dry January,
here and there.
yeah.
Yeah. Dry January. All bars hate that month. And then my buddy came over and he showed me, he introduced me to this. It is called Athletic Brewing. Everything is mostly non-alcoholic. I think they're all non-alcoholic, but they have I can't find it right now, but this is their website. If anyone wants to check it out, it's athleticbrewing.com. They're always supposedly all the beers taste fantastic. Obviously very little sugar, this and that, but they have a whole thing that's a quit drinking bundle. I can't find it, but they have sort of like a breakdown on how to just stop drinking. And I don't think, if you're an alcoholic, yes, you should obviously stop drinking. But I think there needs to be, just like the donuts in the diet, that you can't do it every day.
Yeah.
And I find myself on the weekends is the worst. And
Yes.
CrossFit gyms and CrossFitters do it a lot. They're like the normal people. I'm not talking about the Matt Frasers of the world and the Rich Fronings that, it's their life, Tia Toomey's. But their life is dedicated to the sport, and they're okay with not drinking. They don't find any, like, yeah, I'll have a drink once a year, and even then they probably don't. Whereas me and you seem kind of similar in that way, where it's like, yeah, it's a weekend, sweet, Friday, let's do it. And, if you got good neighbors and you're hanging out with the neighbors outside, kids are playing, this and that, it's hard to be out there just having a water, you're like, fucking water. All right. Well, a lot of celebration here. But me and my friend, we make the joke that people just find a goddamn excuse to drink. Yeah. Any excuse. They'll be like, it was a rough day today. Oh, what'd you do? I woke up.
Yeah.
Okay. And like, I've been awake since 8 a.m. This day's been hard. It's time to have a beer. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? You didn't do anything.
They have the whole mommy culture like that too, of just like it's celebrated when you have your glass of wine at the end of the day because you dealt with the kids.
Yep.
And it's true. Like I can understand it, and I've been that person. It's not to shame anybody who does it, but once you stop and look from the outside looking in, and you realize that maybe I don't need it, it gives you more almost pride, in a sense of just of control over how you want to feel, because the only reason why you're drinking in that situation is because you are unhappy, you're nervous, you're anxious, there's an emotion you're trying to just kind of shove
suppress
down a little bit. And thank you. And if you're trying to actually address the emotion and work through it, it doesn't keep coming up, but it will come up forever if you're not figuring out what's causing it. And that continues the shopping, the eating, the drinking, it all kind of ties back into the things that we're trying not to work through. So again, we get, toxic positivity. That stuff's still there. It's just worth your time to try to address it. So that way you can figure out, what you need to do moving forward.
That's such a crazy thought. I didn't even think about, because what do they call it? Social lubricant. I don't even know if they use that anymore. But some old. But yeah, I remember going out. It was like, okay, got to have a drink.
Yeah.
Or I'm at a party. Where's the beer at? Or, I'm going to have a drink. Even if there's no one else drinking. And I love what you just said about that challenge and challenging yourself to attack that situation head on, which is uncomfortable. Just like a conversation you're having with somebody else that you got to tell them, hey, you're fucking up. That's never fun. You never want to tell your friends, that they're wrong or that they messed up or, and it's even harder, I think, personally to attack those demons and say, why am I uncomfortable here? Or why do I need this drink here? Especially if you're just going to have, I don't think you need to be, having, binge drinking every time. That's not a reason to drink either. But is there a reason you're just, you're having the one beer with dinner? What is that doing for you?
Yes.
And I'll catch myself sometimes about to have a beer and I go, why am I having this?
Yes.
And then I'll be like, it'll be all right. It's just one. And then I validated in my mind, I'm just going to have one. And then the next day, my workout's not as good. My sleep's not as good. Marcus Philly is a known CrossFitter, also has a great Instagram page. But he has a great little reel about drinking, and he's not telling anyone not to drink, but he kind of puts it in the sense, is it worth it for you for the next day to drink that glass of wine? Because every time he has one glass of wine, he's less productive the next day. He needs more caffeine. Diet's usually a little jacked up. And I mean, this guy is probably 2% body fat. I mean, he's just jacked.
He's like tuned in. Yeah.
Yeah. But he knows, he knows that it's going to make what his monetization of his life, it's going to be harder for him to put out that content because he's going to be dragging ass. And it's so funny because I'm a big advocate for marijuana. And while it leads to lack of productivity at certain streams, and if you're obviously way too into it, you ain't going to do shit. But we vilify the weed, but alcohol is just so goddamn accepted. And it he's on the up and up now, my little brother, who I'm pressuring to get on the podcast with me to tell his story. But it has changed the face of his life. And it's funny because my wife barely drinks. She used to. I mean, when we first met, it was like Party City for both of us. I mean, shit, she was a shot girl, liquor promoter at a restaurant I was running. That's how we met. And now she doesn't really drink at all. Like if we're at Disney or something like that, we'll have a drink together. But she is so strong-minded that she's just like, I don't need it. But we'll go places and people are like, you sure you don't want to have a drink? Here, have a drink. Yeah. Should you have a drink? And it's like, why the pushing? Why do I need it? I don't need it. I love you guys. I'm having a great time. I don't need the alcohol to amplify or give this Instagram filter of myself, Yeah.
I think we forgot that we have an option at some point, and then it's so accepted, and not only accepted, it's not accepted not to drink. It's getting there. We're there's sober bars and things like that.
Oh, it's getting crazy.
Cool. Yeah, I love that. And actually, the beer, I never had the Athletic. I had a different one that's actually in my fridge right now. That's really good, but it's actually tasting better. So I'm grateful. The wine they haven't figured out yet, but the beer is good. But once you realize you have an option and you can say, hey, no, because I know how I feel the next day. I'm good. I'll still be fun. Like I'm just going to grab my club soda and we're going to have a good time. It's tough in that moment. It's still peer pressure. But for you, when you realize I don't have to drink or I don't have to have that one drink, I cannot have one drink. Like you get out of the habit of it. It can change your whole life. Like it really can.
Crazy.
It's nuts.
And it is, you just touched on it again too, about, you've identified yourself with that liquor, or alcohol, you're almost like it's a part of you. It's like, if I don't have this, what are we going to talk about?
Right.
We can't go to a bar anymore. And people are addicted to, I'm addicted to caffeine. I do love the taste of coffee. I do enjoy the taste of it. I do also love the drug effect that I'm getting from the caffeine, Yep. But shit, I could quit beer in a second. The coffee would be coffee has gripped me to the max.
I'm not ready for that one yet.
No way. No way. If I get a cold, like when I had pneumonia, the first couple of days I wasn't drinking any coffee, and I was getting these headaches that were just pounding. So I'd have to have a shot of espresso to kind of edge me out, even though I just fall right back asleep again. But it was like, shit. And I know a lot of people that have kicked caffeine, and I'm like, how the hell do you do that?
Yeah, I'm not there yet. One step at a time, man. Okay, don't try. I can't do
I know.
that yet. Don't
Yeah.
do it. I'm not ready.
But
I let the wine go. I can't do the coffee.
Wine, I think beer would be easier for me to get rid of than wine for some reason, even though I love beer more. But wine is they've tricked us with wine because they're like, oh, it's not that bad for you. It's good. A glass of wine a day, you'll live longer.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, you fucking liars! Whoever's
feel better, yeah.
whoever's messaging that is a genius one. It's like,
Grandma drank a glass. My grandma, she lived to 96, and she had a glass of Rianiti red wine, which isn't even real wine, every night, and smoked her cigarettes, and she made it. So,
have you watched that Zac Efron show on Netflix where he's traveling all over the place?
No, I've wanted to, but I haven't.
Second season's not great because they're just stuck in Australia, which Australia is a great place. Everything can kill you. But the other one, they go to different cities and stuff pre-COVID. And one of them, they go to this town in Italy where the people they've extended their lives. They're the oldest living people, I think, known as a community on the planet Earth in Italy.
Wow.
And they're wine every day. I think some of them still smoke. And pasta. They're eating, pasta and bread, typical Italian kind of diet. And they're blown away. The scientists are like looking at it like, I don't know how we're talking 120s, those kind of ages. I don't want to quote the exact ages, but some of them are freaking old, actually.
Like out in the woods? Is it like away from the city life?
No, they're in a small city. Here, I have this crazy thing.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Google, Italy, Zac Efron. That's what I'm typing. Efron, old people. Let's see what comes up. Let's see if the AI can generate.
I bet it can.
Sardinia. Sardinia is the place where people easily live to be over 100 years old. Do
you want to be over 100 years old though? Like,
I want to live forever. I want to live up until my daughter. I at least want to see her in her 40s, and then. But I want to die like. I hate death. I hate every aspect of it. My wife knows it. I get hyper emotional about it. If she tells me, she's like, well, we need to be prepared. You need to be able to, you got to be strong, this and that. And I'm like, I will start bawling in tears.
Okay. I'm sorry.
It's no, it's okay. I don't know why it's such a touchy topic for me. I guess I just don't want to die. And now that I have a daughter, and I definitely don't want to die.
Sure.
And I don't. When she's older, when she's in her 40s, I would still like to be here. But then at the same time, I go in my head, man, I don't want her to have to deal with me dying. Yeah. So then it's just like, all right, let's just all live forever, and we'll move to Mars, and we'll just keep going here. Yeah, we'll move to Sardinia and be happy. Yeah, death sucks, man.
If you know what I found out about that recently, I don't know how into the woo-woo stuff you are, but there's somebody, his name is Ainsley MacLeod, MacLeod, and he is a past life guru, if you will. He actually does past life consultations. Whoa. And one of the things on his Instagram page, he's an older gentleman, probably maybe 60s or 70s, is that when you have an intense fear of death in this life, you probably experience a really rough death in a past life, and it's kind of like your soul just takes all of these little pieces along with you. You don't remember it, but It could be something that it's maybe you just got jacked up in a past life, and that's why this life your body's like, I ain't ready. We don't want that happening again. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's fascinating if you want to look more into it.
Yeah, that sounds like it's almost teetering on Buddhism, right? They believe in reincarnation and all that. I think I don't want to quote the Buddhists out there. Don't fucking hate me. We've touched on 4 topics that people are just going to cancel me out real quick.
I know we really did. We went for it, but yeah,
it's all good.
It is in that world of reincarnation. I've learned a lot about it. It's interesting. It's very fascinating.
Yeah, I gotta check him out. I mean, I was already in a helicopter crash that, probably should have, I brushed close with death there.
Okay, that could do it. Yeah.
So I don't,
Were
I
you
definitely
afraid
don't,
before that?
huh?
Were you afraid before that?
I never really wanted to die. That's for sure. I mean, no one's like, I want to die today. But yeah, I never was a fan of it, but I never got hyper emotional about it. And then after that, it definitely probably heightened up. But I also life to me is, I don't really take it for granted anymore. But I wish I was more free spirited in the sense that I'd be willing to do anything. Before that, I really didn't give a shit what I was doing. It was like, yeah, let's go do that. Yeah, let's go do that. Yeah, let's go do that. And now I'm a little more like, yeah, I don't think I'll be doing any skydiving, anytime soon. But yeah, so everybody try to live as long as you can.
Yeah.
I don't know if wine's the answer.
Well said. I'm not sure. We can't prove it yet, but.
But Christy, anything before I let you go, want to promote? Or obviously your Instagram is Christy Says Things. You put out content almost every day, I want to say.
Yeah,
day-ish.
It's like 4 to 5 times a week you'll get some new content. Yeah.
Okay, and it's all based around just life, happiness.
If you like the woo-woo, you will love my page. Talk a lot about spiritual things,
Love
not
it.
necessarily religious, but that manifestation and making money and being happy and getting out of your own way. Yeah, all of that stuff.
Fantastic. Anyone that's listening, or if you're watching, give her a follow. Give me a follow on IG, Tasty Brains Podcast. I'm on Twitter, known as Paulie Donuts. I'm easy to find. Just look for Beetlejuice. And obviously for the YouTube channel, talking to everyone, the millions listening, like, comment, subscribe to my channel. Also, you have a podcast, Christy?
I do. Christy Says Things podcast.
Christy Says Things podcast, and that is on all major streaming platforms?
Sure is, yeah.
Sweet. Just like the Tasty Brains podcast. So thanks, everybody, for listening, watching. Hope I didn't scare you away. And woo-woo's always good.
Okay.
All right?
Good. Yeah.
And peace. Thanks, everybody.